We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. ArtsUnited brings on Dennis Dean as executive director to continue its nonprofit mission to support LGBTQ+ in the arts.
2 activists were expelled from the White House Pride event for protesting U.S. support for Israel in the Gaza conflict.
Hundreds of Daddyland attendees were evicted from a Dallas hotel following complaints from Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority sisters attending a convention.
The World AIDS Museum's new exhibit explores sports and HIV. It features portraits by the artist Geraldine Jerry and aims to reduce stigma.
Colombia President Petro is accused of an affair with trans newscaster Linda Yepes. He condemns transphobic backlash, but doesn't deny claims.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, that we have had more than 9 million views thanks to you. It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ+ community. Our mission? To support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our queer culture, the Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, students, youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television, news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
That's right, Christopher, and let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight. We'll begin with the most beautiful at the table. She knows it, she owns it, and she paid me to say that. Let's welcome Bonnie Builder. She's the premier South Florida bodybuilding drag queen and the forever reigning Mixed Mary's Wilton Manors. Once she won, it broke the mold. That's right. A recent graduate of FIU, Bonnie Builder is a trainer and comes to life with a microphone and a spotlight, baby. Welcome back, Miss Bonnie Builder.
Yo. So, I'm Bonnie Builder. Welcome to me. You should be so honored. I have a lot going on. On Wednesdays, you can catch me at Gay the Ring hosting drag trivia. On Saturdays, you can catch me at Brickle at Kush, formerly known as Tobacco Road, also hosting trivia from 4 to 6. And I'm also competing in the Nathan's pageant, which will be on Monday, whenever that is. And I expect to win because of obvious fucking reasons. So.
All right. All right. Thanks, Miss Bonnie.
Thank
Look at that face. Look at that face.
God, they're
painted.
Horny.
They are. Let's go to Greg because then they'll get unhorny. Let's welcome Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the. Don't cry, puppy. I'm sorry. You knew it was going to happen sooner or later, right? Okay. All right. All right. Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Greg is the author of 2 short story collections and 7 books of poetry. He's an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of print and online publications. Welcome back, Greg. How are you, puppy?
I'm happy to be back after I was here last night. So it's good to be back among friends and family.
Oh, you're cute. You're cute that you think we're friends.
Right? Who are you related to?
I love Gregg. Stop it. All right. Next up, let's welcome Robert Kesten. Yes, Christopher, this is how this goes, just to let you know. All right. Robert's like, I'm used to it. All right. Let's welcome Robert Kesten. Robert believes in universal human rights and has dedicated crucial years of his life to the integration of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights around the world. He conceptualized the UN Decade of Human Rights Education and is now the executive director of Stonewall National Museum, Archives, and Library. Welcome back, Robert. And if you want to see an incredible interview with myself and Robert Kesten, please go on my YouTube channel. We had a great time. Robert got in bed with me in his pajamas, and we talked all thing Robert, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, we talked some things, Faye.
Well, we expected that too.
And we talked about your legs.
Of course.
Well, I mean, we had to talk about that too.
Absolutely.
But we got to you. Some, right?
There was some mention.
So what's going on with you, honey? What's going on?
Interestingly, later this month, I think it's the 20th or thereabouts in July, we're doing an interview on Zoom, so anybody can come to it, with a guy by the name of Ricky Ian Gordon, who's a gay composer, lives in New York, and he writes some of the most amazing modern opera music sung by all the leading opera stars, but also many of the Broadway stars. And there are recordings, there are performances, and my hope is that after we do this interview, we will get one of the opera companies here in Florida to bring one of his compositions down here, because they are exquisite, contemporary, and really introduce people to an important art form that a lot of people are not familiar with.
You know, opera, there's something about opera. There's something about opera music that touches your soul. I don't know what the hell they're saying, but it still makes me cry, right?
Is there an English?
English, right.
Okay. I still don't know what the hell they're saying.
Yeah, right.
I went to public school. I mean, come on, Robert. All right. Next up, let's welcome Christopher Gustafson of Gustafson Communications. Christopher is a leading publicity and PR brand manager for many well-known LGBTQ plus brands, including West Hollywood's Candace Cain television programs. I love her. And Wilton Manor's Mary So Mary Productions. Welcome back, Christopher. How are you, honey?
I'm doing great. Thank you. It's actually Mary Productions.
What did I say?
It says so. But it's all good. I'm excited to be here. But I also wanted to mention that Candace Cain's Secret Garden is now streaming on Hulu.
Yes, I can't stop watching
So
it.
you must check it out. It's amazing. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
I love that.
I saw her interview about that. She basically said she had the idea from the shutdown where she was just gardening a lot.
Yep.
She's like, people will want to see this.
Yes.
She's passionate
Did
about
you convince her to
gardening.
keep her clothes on, or was it her idea?
I think that was her idea.
Okay, that's the okay.
But the premise is so cute, and it's just such a great binge-worthy series. So
Yes.
please check it out. Candace Cain's Secret Garden, streaming on Hulu.
On Hulu. And my good friend Dana Davis is the
Oh,
neighbor.
yes.
I'm
Yes.
actually going to have dinner after today's show with Dana.
Dana
so
Davis plays the one and only Miss Weeds.
she does a great job.
Check
She
her
really
out.
does. Go check it out on
Do not
Hulu right
sleep
now.
on Miss Weeds.
I won't.
I mean, you know what
I
I
had
Yeah.
no intention to.
So you want to throw it to me, Christopher? Or you just
Oh,
want
yes.
to stare at the... 'Cause I'm just smiling, waiting for you.
Okay, sorry. And of course, this is tonight's lead anchor, FayWhat.
You didn't say it right.
Faye.
You got it.
Go.
FayWhat.
Yeah, okay, good.
She is a legendary events host and television radio personality, and the host of the FayWhat show on Mondays at Hotspots Happening Out. Faye, the Pet Project Bowl-a-thon, is on July 20th at Manor Lanes. Tell me what's happening.
Yes, so gather your friends and join us for a fun-filled day at the Pet Project Bowl-a-thon on July 20th, 10 a.m. at Manor Lanes. Create your team now and help us support our furry friends in need. Together, we can make a difference. Register your team right now at petprojectflorida.org. The Pet Project and Sue Marino, if you don't know who she is, they help to keep pets in their homes, okay? There are many folks that are food insecure and also don't have the money to take their pets to the vet and would have to give up their pets. Well, Pet Project makes sure that you keep your pets by helping with vet bills and helping with food, especially to LGBTQ plus seniors. And this is how you can help. If you're a pet lover, go bowl and make that money for the Pet Project, or you can just donate on their Facebook page as well. So get a team together and bowl for the pets. Flockfest already has put a team together. The lesbians have a team together. The beards have a team together. So that must be the girls that go out with the boys. I don't know, but they have a team. All right. And now it's your turn. petprojectflorida.org. Sign up and we'll see you July 20th, 10 a.m. at Manor Lanes. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Wednesday, July 10th, 2024. Let's begin this evening by queering up gay culture. Dennis Dean appointed to executive director at ArtsUnited. With over 3 decades of dedicated leadership in the art industry, Dennis Dean is renowned for his visionary strategies, creativity, and commitment to fostering artistic excellence. Dennis, a member of ArtsUnited since 1999, has previously served as board vice president from 2016 to 2024. Now the seasoned art director, curator, and award-winning photographer has been appointed executive director at ArtsUnited. His impressive portfolio includes over 30 published books and numerous curated exhibitions across the U.S. and the U.K. His photography, a staple in Florida's gay press, has also been featured in international magazines. In addition to his visual art expertise, Dennis brings over 10 years of experience in the performing arts as a performer, stage manager, and theater producer. As executive director, he aims to promote cultural enrichment, expand community engagement through innovative initiatives, and forge impactful partnerships. Dennis is passionate about empowering artists and creating transformative experiences that resonate globally, uniting people through the arts. Dennis Dean is such an incredible human being. He's also part of the Hotspots Happening Out gallery with Dennis Dean in Wilton Manors. And, Dennis Dean has had back surgeries, numerous health issues, and that boy is still Saturday ready to open up an exhibition at his gallery no matter what. Dennis Dean is coming in to be the executive director at ArtsUnited during a time where the arts has lost so much money, and he is ready to take the challenge on. So like I said, Dennis Dean is an incredible photographer as well. For October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, he took my picture, and that is what we had presented at our breast cancer awareness exhibition at his gallery. His detail, his focus, he's just such an incredible human being, and I can't imagine him doing a bad job at all, and again, during a very tough time that he's coming in. Robert, as ED at Stonewall, any advice to a new ED over at ArtsUnited?
Well, even though he's a new ED, he's certainly fully experienced.
Yes, for sure.
But the big thing is to make sure that you do not use this as the sole reason for going out to get money, because a lot of people are getting nervous that the state will look at that as an opportunity to say, see, you didn't need our money anyway because you've made it up. There's a reason for states and governments to invest in arts and culture. And we shouldn't lose track of what that reason is. And that is that it's very important to invest in the community. It's important to provide the educational liaison part. Arts and culture are very important for heightening education. And what we're doing here in Florida by cutting that out of the budget is putting our students at a disadvantage, putting our businesses at a disadvantage, putting tourism at a disadvantage. So what Dennis has to do is build, if necessary, a stronger board and look for alternative sources. But that's to build on when finally somebody in Tallahassee is smart enough to say the arts are well worth their weight in gold. And this is something that we should remind ourselves of, that the cuts, money will be made up, but that is not the reason that government invests in the arts.
Yeah, very true.
Good for the state's economy, really good for the state's economy.
It's a huge amount of money that comes into the state. I think it's estimated at over $3.3 billion. And that $3.3 billion then turns into more money for restaurants and hotels and all the other ticket sales for concerts. I mean, it's overwhelming how much money and how it makes people feel.
Yeah. But as ED, one of your main jobs is to fundraise.
Oh,
if not, I'm not telling you. I'm sorry, but I mean, would you say that that's maybe 85% of your job?
It's officially no.
Unofficially?
Unofficially, you spend an amazing amount of time because ultimately everything you do, whether it's producing brochures, whether it's producing programs, exhibits, whatever it is, ultimately it's all about getting your name out there, showing the quality of your work, and hopefully that generates income Florida is a particularly difficult place to raise money because lots of people that are here still think of home as someplace else. And so they say, I give it home.
Yeah.
And that's a unique situation to Florida and a couple of the other places where there are lots of snowbirds or people that just still don't think of it as home.
Yeah.
And so
It is home.
It's home.
It is.
well, whether it's home or not, if you spend time here, you should invest here.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. But we have not been able, always through all the organizations, been able to get that message across. And it's interesting because on the east coast of Florida, it's one thing. On the west coast, you have a small city like Sarasota. In fact, Sarasota County is only 500,000 people. Broward County is 2 million. Miami is even more, Miami-Dade. And yet Sarasota has 2 community foundations. Each one has more than the Broward Community Foundation. And they have more successful, sustainable arts organizations. So it really has to be cultivated here. We have work to do.
Completely. Now, I kind of feel that Dennis is watching this running the other way, so please give me something positive.
I got you. Dennis Dean is an incredible guy. I've worked with him a number of times. I've gotten to know him. He actually is one that photographed me when I did the cover of Hot Spots in February for Black History Month.
That was an amazing cover.
I looked incredible.
yes.
But Dennis Dean is such a talent. I feel actually honored that he had any interest in getting to know me. I know I'm an incredible person, all that good stuff, but like when true artists like Dennis make it a point to get to know me, I feel just like, who am I? Well, I'm that bitch.
You
but
are
like,
that bitch.
I just feel like so grateful that a man like Dennis Dean, and this is so deserved. I thought he was running stuff already. So that means
Right?
it was well past due. So Dennis Dean, congratulations. baby.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Greg,
Many congratulations, and we're watching.
we're watching. Next.
We're going to queer up social justice. Activists removed from White House Pride for Gaza protest. 2 weeks ago, trans Jewish educator and Rabbi Abby Stein and former Biden administration staffer Lily Greenberg Call were expelled from the White House Pride celebration. The 2 women began chanting against U.S. support for Israel in its ongoing conflict with Palestinians in Gaza. They wrote in an essay for Autostraddle saying, quote, "We addressed Dr. Biden and our fellow attendees respectfully, introduced ourselves as queer Jews, and chanted our support for a permanent ceasefire, an end to arming Israel, and asserted that there can be no pride in genocide," end quote. Stein and Greenberg Call reported that Stein was aggressively grabbed by a Secret Service officer. A White House staffer promptly informed them that they were disinvited from the event. Both women were escorted out and barred from returning that day. This was Stein's second White House invitation, which she found surprising, given her vocal stance against the Gaza conflict. Greenberg Call, attending as Stein's guest, had previously resigned from her position in the Biden administration in protest over the president's Gaza policy. The women described the event atmosphere as celebratory and lighthearted, though the women felt uncomfortable. Well, this is a perfect example of the way this war without end continues to tear apart communities. And I keep wondering if the day comes when this war finally ends, if the damage done to communities, to friendships, and to families, can they ever be repaired?
Wow. Yeah, those are big words. I spoke to Sam Lance. Sam Lance is, he was on Squid Game, the challenge, and he's also a Queer News Tonight anchor. So he was there at the White House. Max Fenning, another anchor here, was also at the White House, right? Name dropping there. They didn't invite me or Bonnie to the White House. But anyway, my point is that, so I asked Sam about this, and he said, honestly, it was so quick. It didn't disrupt the event at all. They started screaming, no pride and genocide a couple times, and then they were quickly removed. They've got the right to protest wherever and whenever they want. Would I have chosen an LGBTQ plus event to do it? Maybe not. They wanted a protest against Biden. And this was, and this event was LGBTQ plus with families and stuff like that. Again, it's still the U.S. You're allowed to protest wherever at the end of the day, and it's unfortunate. Greenberg had said that she was that, like you said, Greg, that she was the first one. She was the only Jewish appointee in the Biden administration to publicly resign. Once she didn't agree with what Biden was doing over at Gaza, she just kindly said, peace out. I'm going to use my tools and protest, and that's what I'm going to do. And she has all the right in the world.
Integrity.
Integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity. Robert, what do you think, honey?
I have very strong views about this. I also think that for an LGBTQ plus event, when across this country and around the world, especially in the Middle East, where gay people are thrown off roofs and hung from lampposts, you really have to be sensitive to what you're doing and how you're doing it and where you're doing it. And what happens in those kinds of protests, shooting No Pride in Genocide and things like that, is you lose the nuance of what's going on. You're not putting anything into context. We all agree that killing children and unarmed people is a terrible thing. Whichever side of any border you're on, it shouldn't happen. It does happen in this world. It happened in Ukraine last night. I agree, people should be able to protest in this country because goodness knows, after November, we don't know if that will hold true anymore. But I also think that people have to be aware of their surroundings. And if you know that you're not welcome in a happy, joyous occasion, then you go on the other side of the fence and you protest. You don't do it in the midst of people who are celebrating who they are.
Yeah.
Knowing that what's going on overseas is a terrible thing. No matter which side you're on, it's a terrible thing. And it's not like that 2 seconds of airtime that you're going to get is going to change anything for anybody else. And we really have to be focused on where we can change things and who and how we organize to make change, and make change so that we can get people on our side. Because the bigger that group is, the more likely that change, positive change, will happen. Attacking people usually makes it quite the opposite and turns people against you rather than for you or your cause.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
No, being disruptive is important. Like, that's
Absolutely.
how we get our message out. But I think we just have to figure out our audience, to your point. Like, just where you're doing it, and is it going to have, like, a big impact?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't fully agree with y'all. I think the point of protest is to be, like we say, disruptive. You can't really corral when and how it is to be appropriate when protesting, because when they were protesting for Black people rights, I'm sure there were more appropriate venues to do that, but they didn't care. They had a point and they wanted to make it. Again, there was a similar story to this where people were protesting at there was like a queer award ceremony where a similar protest was happening.
Yes. Glad ceremony.
And people had an issue with that because it was another queer event. To be queer is to be not of the norm, and there's a lot of queer people who take issue with what's going on across the pond. And I will say that again, the point is, stop killing the baby, stop killing the innocent, cease fire. And if you have the opportunity to do that on the lawn of the White House, I fully understand why somebody would take advantage of that.
I fully understand.
So with that being understood, their message didn't come across clearly. They didn't have time to say a full rhetoric before they got shooed off. But a message was made. It got made public, and it is understood where people stand with this issue. They want Biden to understand that despite this glorious Pride Month that we were celebrating, we are still not overlooking what's happening over there, and we need a ceasefire immediately. And I think that's the point they were trying to make before they were cut short.
Yeah. Greg?
I agree. Yep.
Cool.
Cool. Bonnie, what's next?
Work. Next, let's queer up gay culture. Daddyland circuit party evicted amid Kamala Harris's sorority complaints in Dallas. Recently, hundreds of attendees of the popular Daddyland circuit party were ejected from their downtown Dallas hotel following complaints from Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority sisters. But do you know who else was associated with the sorority? It is none other than Vice President Kamala Harris. Both groups coincidentally booked into the same hotel clashed over behavior in public areas. The incident began last Friday when members of the AKA sorority attending their biennial convention, where Harris gave a keynote address, found themselves sharing the Crowne Plaza downtown Dallas hotel with Daddyland Festival attendees. Hotel management reported that the circuit party, quote, went to hell after the Friday night kickoff. By Saturday afternoon, notices were sent to Daddyland attendees, giving them just 2 hours to vacate the premises. The hotel owner said, quote, the last time they were perfect. This time it went to hell, end quote. He, however, insisted the eviction was not related to homophobia. One Daddyland attendee noted that there was no ill will, as sorority members and circuit partiers even complimented each other's outfits. Another attendee, Kevin Sarabi, pointed out a double standard, quote, a pool party had women in bikini tops and bottoms walking through the lobby, and nobody seemed to care. But gay men in short shorts and tank tops led to a mass eviction, end quote. Now, what I'm about to say is not reported. I just saw this on social media. It could be true, it could be false. I also heard that there were reports of people G'd out on drugs, passed out in elevators, acting a fool in the hotel, and it wasn't the AKAs. So maybe the attendees of this event need to look at themselves in the mirror. I'm not saying this is true, but if it is true, maybe look yourself in the mirror. Understand where your actions could have caused you to be evicted, because they want your business. They want the returning business. They loved you last year, and this year maybe something happened. I don't think it was because the AKAs were attending, because the AKAs can also get buck wild too. But there are some things going around on the interwebs saying that y'all did a little bit more than walking around in tank tops.
Look, I'm thinking about gay days, right? So for gay days, I stay at the Bear Hotel. I love to stay at the Bear Hotel. It's a lot of fun, right? And so when we stayed there this last time, right, I was wondering, I was like, oh, I wonder if a family's going to come up. How does that work, right? Because again, this is the Bears Hotel. That means there's bears everywhere. They're in very little clothing. They're dressed, but there's very little clothing, and there's people partying and having a great time, right? VIP means open bar, right? So people are having a great time overnight. And they're adults, and they know how to take care of themselves and all that kind of stuff, right? But so I wondered, and I asked the front desk person, and they're like, no, we're very meticulous and detailed about letting people know that if there are rooms available, that this is what's going on this weekend, right? And then it's up to you. And then we even give them a discount to get a hotel some other time. So I really do believe that this is unfortunately, it's the Crowne Plaza's fault. At the end of the day, I mean, again, adults should not be running amok. Right. But, these are two considerably very different organizations using the hotel for different things, right? And they should be allowed to have the whole hotel to themselves, And unfortunately, a miscommunication happened there somewhere, and that's why we're hearing about it now.
Well, my husband is a gay father, and way back in the early days of the Gay Fathers group, there was a convention, and he remembers that it was, mostly at that point it was a lot of men. There were some women. It was mostly male gay fathers, and he remembered being at a hotel at a convention, and there also happened to be a Christian group convention with their families. Ooh, and the elevator door opened. Oh boy. And there were some gay men standing in the elevator, and a little kid was like running towards the elevator, and the parent kind of grabbed the kid and said, "Oh, it's okay. We'll wait. We'll take the next elevator." But again, it's like you said, alerting the other groups. Everybody should know who's going to be there at that time. Yeah,
you're in charge of your kid. Of course you're in charge. Your kid is your problem. You got knocked up. That's your kid, all right? But right, the family should also be able to walk into a lobby without seeing a bunch of naked dudes all G'd out, Yes. So
we should be able to coexist.
How do we make everybody happy? Exactly. Christopher, what do you think?
That's what I believe. We should be able to coexist, and I agree with you that the hotel has a responsibility to let everybody know the different things that are going on, so they can act accordingly or do what they need to do.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between an LGBTQ plus convention or a bear convention, right? And a sorority, or a softball group, or even, gay fathers, right? It's just very different in know your audience. How about that? Yeah. Right? And the surprising thing is that this is Crowne Plaza downtown, and the Crowne Plaza that I told you about, the hotel that I told you about in Orlando was also a Crowne Plaza, so things happen, right? Miscommunications happen. And just like Christopher said, we should all be able to just coexist and be fine with other organizations at a hotel. We should also be adults and know how to act.
Because I don't like family friendly at all. I'm actually going on a cruise in a couple of weeks, a Virgin.
Yay, Virgin. Yes, no kids.
Virgin.
We were on
no
Virgin,
kids.
yes.
Yeah, but I don't like kids at all. However, we need to understand which venues allow us to be whole out and which ones need holes covered up. So, like, let's act accordingly. There are venues where being G'd out in the elevator is perfectly fine. Trust me, I know them. But this one wasn't that. So let's make it a point to find venues that do allow your hole to be out. You can easily find one of those venues down in Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, at the Gathering. You actually can go
Hell,
at the
come to
Gathering.
the Gathering.
See, you
Do it
got
at the
that?
Gathering,
You
son.
like that? I got you.
And then you come to my trivia on Wednesday night. You can wear whatever you want. Just don't touch me. Come on now.
And they have a bathhouse there and everything.
They do have a bathhouse.
See? Gathering.
Very
Say
familiar.
thank you for your commercial.
You're welcome, David. Hello.
Robert, what's next?
What is next? Next, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. World AIDS Museum and Educational Center unveils new sports HIV/AIDS exhibit. The World AIDS Museum and Educational Center in Fort Lauderdale recently hosted a reception for the opening of the new Sports and HIV/AIDS exhibition. The exhibit, featuring portraits by local artist DeGirlins Cherry, delves into the intersection of sports and the HIV epidemic, shedding light on the experiences, challenges, and triumphs of the athletes affected by HIV. Jessica Reimers, executive director of the World AIDS Museum and Educational Center, said, quote, "We are here to reduce the stigma surrounding HIV/AIDS by providing access to themed exhibitions like sports and HIV, events, literature, and films. Through this exhibition, we are utilizing art as a tool to inspire change, challenge misconceptions, and generate thought-provoking conversation in the global narrative on HIV in sports," unquote. The World AIDS Museum is a nonprofit organization dedicated to increasing awareness and decreasing the stigma of HIV/AIDS. Their mission includes documenting the history of HIV/AIDS, remembering those affected, educating the public, and empowering survivors. For more information, visit worldaidsmuseum.org. Well, they do a lot of good things. They try to do a lot of good things. Their educational area has been hurt because of the Don't Say Gay and their lack of access to Florida schools. But this is one example of trying to circumvent that and find something that will pull people in. They do have a large focus now on marginalized communities where AIDS is still prevalent, especially in Miami-Dade and Broward County, two of the most affected counties in the entire United States. It also does affect gay people, and we shouldn't forget that. And a lot of times, because of stigma, a lot of these cases in both of those communities go unreported. And that's one reason that people get sick. They're afraid to get help. They're afraid to get medications that prevent the disease and the contagion. The stigma is something that really has to be fought community by community. And the World AIDS Museum is one of those places that tries to take that on. It's shocking that something that started in the late 70s, the early 80s, we still haven't overcome the stigma, and that has caused many people to get ill that never had to get sick.
You know, we did a story, and I think that we did a story, I think Gregg was with me, when we had done a story about maybe eradicating AIDS by 2030, right? And then just the other day, what Robert was saying was about Miami-Dade being number one, right? So Black women are number one in the country with new cases of HIV, unfortunately, right? I just read a study 2 days ago that brown women are number two. I mean, in certain marginalized communities, it's still super prevalent. Please know your status. Education is key. Education is how you do this,
It's not only knowing your status, it's knowing your partner's status. And partners have to be honest. And that's where the stigma comes in. They do not want to admit who they're sleeping with. They do not want to admit that they're not well. And therefore, they go into other relationships, whether casual or serious, because they bring it home to their families. Because the stigma of being gay or having bi-sex is still also a problem in a lot of communities, probably a majority of communities. And so it's one thing that leads to the other.
Well, and that happens a lot when it comes to, Black and brown communities, right? It'll be a straight couple. and the man will be on the down low, right? And the woman will not get herself checked because Black and brown people have horrible issues when it comes to healthcare. That's a whole other segment that would take me an hour to even begin. LGBTQ plus have similar issues when it comes to healthcare accessibility and just having someone, a caregiver, that'll be able to explain things to you correctly. You know, it feels like a million years ago since Magic Johnson came out, you know, publicly with his journey, and him and many other people are living and thriving with HIV/AIDS and are very upfront about their status, you know, yet there's still others that just are not because of this just awful stigma.
We also need to quit it with the condom shaming. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you hooking up with somebody and they pull out a condom, you don't need to turn up your face. You don't need to make a face. Just put the goddamn condom on and get to business. A lot of y'all ain't allergic to condoms like y'all say y'all are. There's been an influx of, oh, I'm allergic to the rubber. It can't touch my skin. I'm allergic. No, you not. Dirty fucking lie. Put the condom on or don't hook up with that person. But do not shame nobody because that's just going to continue stigma of condoms are bad, just breed everybody. And we don't need that right now.
We don't need that.
And we are very lucky to have the World AIDS Museum here.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bringing it back home. Yes, thank you.
We are indeed.
What's next, Christopher?
Next up, let's clear up the world view. Colombian president accused of affair with transgender newscaster. Colombia's president Gustavo Petro has been accused of having an affair with transgender newscaster Linda Yepes, a claim he hasn't denied but has criticized accusers for sparking transphobic reactions. The allegations arose from a Telemundo report featuring a video of a man and woman believed to be Petro and Yepes walking hand in hand and taking photos in Panama during the President Jose Raul Mulino's election celebration. Petro responded on Twitter, emphasizing the importance of privacy and condemning the transphobic backlash. He said, quote, "I have always considered that intimacy is the last level of freedom, the last trench of being free, and I will preserve this principle until I write about myself or die. But these thousands of transphobic messages that have exploded in the hands of a right-wing, deeply exclusive, ignorant, and discriminatory society must be rejected," end quote. When questioned by Univision about the rumors, Yepes confirmed her presence in Panama, but withheld further details, stating, quote, "I cannot speak about the details yet," end quote. Petro, married since 2000, has no prior accusations of extramarital affairs. Ugh, this is a wild one. What I actually really appreciate about him, whatever the situation is with his wife or this transgender woman, that's between the two of them. But the fact that he is really going after all these transphobic comments and making, really highlighting trans people and protecting them, I think is really important.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's been outspoken about that is, whatever his situation is, that's up to the two of them or the three of them or the whomever.
Yeah.
But the fact that he is an ally and he's actually standing up for the trans community in Colombia and everywhere else is really important.
Yeah. Well,
when you were in Colombia, do you remember hearing about that? Do you remember hearing this story at all? Do you remember hearing about it?
I was in Colombia and I'm Colombian.
Yeah.
Yay.
Remember?
Arepas and aguardiente for everybody.
Colombia.
Viva Colombia. I did hear about the story when I was there. And, again, like when I've gotten caught cheated, anybody else? I've gotten caught cheating a couple times, right? And you're supposed to deny, right? Because no matter what, they found you with your mouth on the girl's vagina. You say this did not happen. I don't know what you were saying.
It didn't.
I don't know what you're seeing, But, he didn't. They did it. Instead of saying, hell no, that's not happening. Or being like many straight men would say, bad-mouthing the trans person and saying, I would never, or some bullshit like that. He owned it. He didn't say no.
Yeah.
He didn't say no.
Well, he didn't own it.
Well, I mean, okay, he didn't own it completely, Robert, but he said a lot more instead of just getting defensive like most men would.
Right. Absolutely. He said the right thing.
Right.
He was not going to have that conversation without talking to his wife first. He was not going to have that conversation.
Because she's Colombian and she'll kill you. You know what a Colombian necktie is? I'll show you if you'd like, but then you'd be dead and then I'd be out of a job. But yes,
But
that.
this also confirms that the far right is the far right.
Yeah.
Everywhere, every corner of the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
They do not
Yeah.
want us to exist, and it's really not good.
And you know what's sad? That Trump opened that door.
Yeah.
He opened the door for Italy. He opened that door for, for Colombia. He's opened that door for UK. He opened the door for everybody, for all the assholes of the world to be assholes to our community.
Yes.
The Omega conservatives would have been within their right, well, actually not because it's none of their business, to criticize the adultery.
Yeah.
The rest of us have been like, yeah, girl, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But like, what the woman got to do with that? Like, her being trans has nothing to do with the infidelity.
No.
And we
At
don't know
all.
what his
At all.
arrangement is with his wife.
They could be open.
They could be
perfectly
open.
fine.
Completely. And can I say that Linda's hot as hell? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I just had to put that out there as
Yeah,
well.
so the far right has whatever they can do to jump on something. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And that Petro quote, intimacy is the last level of freedom, the last trench of being free, end quote. That is well said.
It's a great quote.
Well said.
Siempre he considerado que la intimidad es el último nivel de la libertad, la última trinchera de ser libre y preservaré este principio hasta que escriba sobre mí mismo o muera.
All right.
Next. As a nonprofit LGBTQ plus media organization, we would like to thank our viewers for supporting our mission to tell the stories of the queer community. We also like to thank the generous support of Jets Pizza. Jets is the LGBTQ plus community's most popular pizza in South Florida.
Take a look around these streets. Do you really think we woke up one day and said, yeah, the world needs more pizza? Nah, just a better one. Better, like the world's best pizza. Jet's Detroit-style pizza. Hand-pressed and baked to the thickest, crispiest crunch. You're welcome. Now visit jetspizza.com and save. Click on hot deals for special offers in your area. Jets, better because it has to be.
That's something you don't have to worry.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out Television Studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
We finished tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up gay culture. Bears and the Bear Studio celebrates body positivity. Bear World Mag recently spotlighted the Bear Studio, a project by Doug Juracek. The project features vibrant, nude illustrations of 100 men and 9 non-binary, big-bodied individuals in their naked glory. Inspired by his passion for body positivity, Juracek aimed to showcase diverse physiques through colorful, Renaissance-style portraits. He says, quote, "No two bodies are the same," end quote. The project has gained traction through social media, which is helping to highlight the importance of celebrating all body types. Well, as Will Haas, president of the Bears of South Florida, said so eloquently last night on Queer News Tonight, grr!
I took your line. I'm sorry. I was all excited. Whenever you say Mr. House's name, you automatically have to go. You always have to go. Anyway, I love all the body positivity. I wish more people were like that. You know what I mean? Like, we're all so rough on ourselves. Mm-hmm. I mean, me included. Like, you're just never happy. I went to Colombia and I ate way too many arepas and way too many pan de bonos and way too many bandeja paisas, and I might have gained 3 pounds. Ooh. So I didn't eat for 3 days. Why? Because other lesbians are trying to take my shit, right? And you got to be on point, and that's how the gay boys feel. So I love this body positivity. Show your body. And I need to subscribe to Bear World magazine. That's all I got.
Actually, yes. Big fan of big bodies, and I'm very careful to not go in the path of chubby chaser. I don't know if that's offensive or not. But I'm just a big fan of bodies, whether it's big, small, well, not small. But as long as I find you attractive, we can get to getting. So I'm a huge fan of this. Thank you so much for illustrating this. The artwork looks beautiful, and I can't wait to see it.
Next in LGBTQ plus 1 minute news, let's queer up the world view. All right, take out your tissues. Elderly man comes out of his house to support Pride Parade. The crowd cries. Porto celebrated its second annual Pride March last month. As the parade wound through the cobblestone streets, a Portuguese parade goer named Lily was singled out by an old gentleman holding a Portuguese flag. Initially, unsure of his intentions, Lily approached him. To her surprise, he draped his flag over her shoulders. Lily reciprocated by wrapping her Progress Pride flag around him. They embraced and they were cheered on by the crowd. The old man also unfurled the Pride flag and waved it. This moment went viral with over 10 million views on Twitter, and I am loving it. I need some Brazilian guy to wrap his Progress flag around me.
I'm sorry, I can't. I'm overclamped.
That's just allergies. But this is a beautiful, beautiful moment. From what I saw on Twitter, the crowd initially thought that he was protesting against them, like having a flag that was against theirs. And then it took like a bystander to approach him and be like, what's going on here? And then he said, oh, I just really want a flag. I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, this is the only flag I have. I would love that flag, but I don't have a flag like that. So when they did the swap and he was proudly waving it and gave them a big hug and kiss, I was like, oh my God, just a moment of understanding and communication brings you to moments like this. He just wanted to be a part of it. That's what we need.
That's what we need, Christopher, right? Wouldn't the world be a better place right now?
What the world needs now is love.
Sweet
love. Why are old people so stubborn?
Tell me, y'all, why?
Why are old people so stubborn? Like, again, okay, like my mother-in-law, when I try to sit down with her and have a conversation about LGBTQ, she's like, look, I'm old. I don't want to learn anything else. And I'm like, but you have to learn. We're LGBTQ. I want you to learn about this acronym. No, I don't want to learn anything else. Why are old people like that?
Why are they all looking at me?
Robert, what's next?
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up health. That's what's next. Republicans gut HIV/AIDS spending by over $400 million. The Republican-led House Subcommittee on Labor, Health, and Human Services approved a bill cutting $419 million from federal AIDS programs, which activists warn will hinder efforts to reduce HIV by 2030. The bill slashes $214 million from CDC HIV prevention programs, $190 million from the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program, and $15 million from the Minority HIV/AIDS program. Additionally, it includes billions in cuts in other human services like education and health. Well, we just covered the World AIDS Museum trying to kill stigma, and here we see the federal government, at least the House of Representatives, trying to instill stigma, knowing that it will kill people. So here is once again a right-wing organization, the House of Representatives, taking on humanity and trying to win, and win at any cost. And we saw an old man in Portugal who broke down stigma by embracing somebody who he didn't know to exchange flags. And here in the country that's supposed to be the home of the free and the brave, they are cowards. And not only are they cowards, they are killer cowards. And it is more than shameful. And hopefully, the Senate will not accept that budget, and it will go into a conversation between both houses, and something much better will come out. We also have to take into account that this is an example of what we will see if this election
Don't say it.
goes.
2025.
That's right.
Don't say it.
I'm not saying. If
Well,
this-
we know.
No, but you're
we were
right.
all thinking the exact same
You're
thing.
You know, we have to get out there and do what we need to do. Our community, the communities that we love that are not this community, are all in danger if we don't do our fair share to make sure that people vote.
Vote.
Oh,
Vote.
It's
Yes.
so sad that Ryan White does so many incredible things for underserved community. It's really just devastating.
What's next, Christopher?
Okay. LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up gay culture. What is queer food all about? Here is what LGBTQ plus foodies and chefs say. The term quote unquote queer food has gained traction with the emergence of LGBTQ plus restaurants like the Ruby Fruit and Hags. For some, queer food can mean a cuisine made by queer people, sharing food within queer communities, or serving marginalized groups excluded from fine dining. Co-founder of the conference, Megan Elias, highlighted the term's flexible meaning, and it is quote unquote up for conversation. Across diverse definitions, LGBTQ plus academics, chefs, and foodies agree that queer food can mean different things to different people, but it requires one ingredient: community.
That's so gay.
So queer food?
You
This
eat?
one is a little tricky to unpack, but I am here for it. I think that there's so many accomplished queer people in food, in restaurants, and culinary overall. So if they want to label it, sure.
Well, I'll school you a little bit, Christopher, okay? So,
School me.
queer food, all right? Queer food. Okra. Okra's queer food,
Oh,
okay?
really?
Yes, you learned it here first on Queer News Tonight, right? All right. The pie thrown to the face of Anita Bryant, that pie was a queer pie.
Queer food.
All right? That's queer food right there, okay? That's queer, okay? A banana, an ice cream, queer food, all right? Just think about how you eat it, right? That's very, very queer food,
Hot
food, all right?
dogs?
What about egg?
Hot dogs,
right,
yes.
right.
Eggplants, yes. Okay? All the food served at a topless lesbian bar, yes. All queer. All queer food. There. Now, don't you feel educated now? Now go eat some queer food. The reality is that if the food is made by a queer person, it's also queer food.
Okay.
You got it?
Or made for.
Or made for.
for.
Or served by a queer person, it's queer food. So we just basically made all food queer food.
And I think
Yum.
that it is. And as long as watermelon is queer food, I'm very happy.
All right. You better eat up. Christopher, question. You eat fruit?
Yes.
What's his name?
Oh,
Got you.
Bum.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots magazines, Happening Out television network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, FayWhat? And on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the incredible anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Bonnie Builder, let's take a look at her, damn she hot, Gregg Shapiro, Robert Kesten, and Christopher Gustafson. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. into our LGBTQ plus world. We wish you good night.